Why should you read The LA Quartet by James Ellroy? These are four novels. They're crime novels, more or less, in a bit in the same way that The Wire is a series about crime. Your heroes are chiefly policemen, or your anti-heroes. They are investigating crimes, so they're crime novels. They're not. They have whodunit elements, but that's not really the point. There is something there. Really, they are noir novels about human corruption, human trials, and human redemption. That's what they're about. There's been two big films based on them, and some other James Ellroy novels. He writes other novels that are in the same theoretical continuity, as well as others that aren't. But these four are in close direct continuity, though the plots differ, and it's not like our book 1 to 4 of a series like the Stormlight trilogy, Stormlight Archive. The point here is that it's in the same setting and carries many of the same characters, and it does, in the final novel, tie up some of the threads that have been going on throughout the rest of it. The setting, then, in a sense, is the subject, and the setting is LA in the 50s, the 40s and 50s, and it is about the LAPD. And so it's about kind of corruption, external corruption, Reds under the bed, crime, race issues, the kind of the predations of the rich and famous. And it is about that, often mirroring internal situations in the lives of our main characters. There have been two big adaptations I mentioned. The Black Dahlia came later, actually, is technically the first novel here, which I think that film was only marginally rated. And LA Confidential, which is, for me, one of the great films of all time, which got me into reading this. And that's Guy Pearce, Russell Crowe, Kevin Spacey, James Cromwell, directed by Curtis Hanson. So yeah, I think if you like LA Confidential, I think I have seen the Black Dahlia, but I don't remember it. I would recommend this. So that's the first thing. Is just, if you like it and you like reading, you'll probably like this. What to say beyond that? Well, these are strange and intense novels. They are about fairly serious themes, and they are at points pretty dark. They're darker than the film. There's much more explicit gore. I don't mean every page is gory. What I mean is when you hear about some horrendous crime happening, you hear people describe what's happened. And there's a lot of kind of weird stuff going on in the detectives' heads. This is about broken, flawed people, and it is very much adult reading in that way. And this is all very much more on the sleeve. There's no kind of weird subtext. It's like, this is the text. The text is this stuff's weird and creepy and kind of psychosexual. But that doesn't... I didn't find it tawdry. I didn't find it exploitative. I didn't find it... it wasn't there for shock value. It was, in some ways, it was attempting, by bringing these kind of external crimes and the internal torment together, trying to bring resolution. It's in the high tragic mode in that sense, in the more technical sense of that word. Black Dahlia is based on the real Black Dahlia crimes, and it's basically about what, which was a subject that fascinated James Ellroy because his own mother had gone missing. There is a thing, he's very open about the fact, he's like, some of the weird stuff he's working through in his books is stuff to do with his own damage. But yes, he solves the Black Dahlia crime, or attempts to. And he has two cops who go after the crime. They've got a bit of some rivalries, and you kind of see the case develop. And Black Dahlia is good. It's not as good as the rest, I think. It's earlier in his career, and you can tell that there's a thing where he is spinning so many plates here. There's so much going on, and he. It's I've actually, in TV terms, I've talked about Veronica Mars in this way. Also a noir, very different kind of noir, but like this kind of spinning millions of plates, and sometimes like, I don't really know what's happening with that, or okay, but there is an artistry here that he really gets to, and I think in Black Dahlia it's just a little bit loose, and sometimes things are a bit rushed, like the ending is a bit rushed. As you keep going, so the big nowhere is LA cops out to slam Movieland Reds, but a series of brutal sex killings intervene, and the job goes all the way bad. you see that he's hit his stride there, and this is epic stuff. And LA Confidential, there's the big thing is, as if you don't know the film, there's some killings at the Night Owl Cafe, and it becomes apparent that what the police have said has happened hasn't really been what's happened, and this brings Ed Exley and Bud White into and others into trying to work out what's going on. And then finally, White Jazz it's actually great. There's a corrupt cop. It starts with a guy, very quickly, a cop who seems all the way bad, but he's not. He's Dave Klein is really one of the most masterful characters there. This kind of corrupt guy, openly corrupt from the first couple of chapters, does terrible things, and there's no excuse for that. There's never an attempt. The thing about redemption, but by the way, is that redemption does not consist of saying there wasn't anything wrong with what happened to begin with. It's about genuine reconciliation and genuine reconciliation within the self, at least, and genuinely paying for the thing via your actions, in some way paying out. White Jazz gives us the tortured confession of a corrupt cop going down for the count. He's determined to claw his way out of the horrifying world he's created, and he's determined to tell us everything. They're all powerful in different ways. The final three are so well put together as well. Black Dahlia is good, but it's not as good. The other three are so good. They are so good. I would recommend them. Just the level of, like, these are intense, interesting, strange novels. They have great characters. The resolution, the slow building up. If you want to see it as a musical quartet with different theme and variation, but then motific resolution, you get that. White Jazz is that. White Jazz is, it brings things together. It says, remember these things, remember what mattered here. There's always too much going on, and mostly he gets away with that. As I say, Black Dahlia, he doesn't. The other three, there's too much going on, but it doesn't matter, because that's part of the effect. The effect is that you are baffled by this world of glamour and corruption and strangeness and perversion in every sense. And he gives you heroes to root for, not heroes who are pure. They're heroes who are super broken. And I should say, I'm not like, I'm fine. I love that in Gene Wolfe, Latro is just a good guy. I talked about this when I've been reading those novels. Latro is just a good guy, basically. He's practiced virtue enough that he's a good guy. So I'm not saying, I'm not generally into the whole tortured heroes, but here I think a big thing is you have a certain frankness. There's no glamorization of what's going on. There's no glamorization of corruption. There is a frank staring into the eye on kind of our own brokennesses, both personal, strictly inside ourselves, and how that affects what we do. And there's a frank reckoning with that. And the point is, these are people who want to do something good. They want to come, they're trying to be better. And there is a system and a world arrayed against them, but there's no excuse there. There are choices, and people have made choices, and they can make different choices. But there is a corrupt and cruel system, and this is personified by one of the great literary creations, Dudley Liam Smith, James Cromwell, who this really charming Mephistophelian, I've called him elsewhere, in both his charm and his temptation. He is, he's the guy who ends up being the gangster squad. He's the guy who has a plan to sort everything in LA out and make everyone happy out of it. He is where Judge Holden in Blood Meridian is not realistic. He's Satan, but he's not realistic. In the sense, he's powerful. He's existentially realistic, but he's not like, oh yeah, I've met a guy like Judge Holden. He was dancing naked and saying that things weren't allowed to exist without his permission. Dudley Smith, though stylized, is something. There is a very human evil there. I reference him as a devil, but really it's a very human evil. And he's so entertaining, and you love him being on screen, on page, but you also really want his comeuppance. It's a glorious combination. He's a magnificent accomplishment. As I say, one of the great literary villains. I think these are satisfying books. I'm going to read more Ellroy books. I've got some more, and like there's tons more. It's special stuff. So I think if you like the sound of what I've said, if you like, the kind of prose I've offered, and if you can deal with the caveats to his content, really. Also, some people, I should say, his style is super clipped and noirish, and some people don't like that. That's Watts, Code 3 Without a Siren, Buzzfingered as Billy Club, Mal lead-footed through twilight traffic. 106 Navlon was the heart of Watts. Every tar paper shack on the block had goats and chickens behind barbed wire fences. If you can cope with that, if you can cope with that kind of very clipped style, if you can cope with racialized language that is I think we're meant to think, oh wow, things are different now. If you can cope with that, then you have, I think, some of the most serious psychologically serious books you'll get to, and really just really morally and emotionally powerful books. And I should say that the mysteries are great too. They're in their own weird, baffling, confusing way. They're really engaging. You want to know the end of the mystery. My one caveat on that is that in LA Confidential, in the film adaptation, there's a big cut in the mystery. I'm like, yeah, that made sense. That was a very strange bit of that mystery. I'm happy to talk about that with people in the comments for those who have read and watched both. But yeah, if you have read these, please add your reasons or criticisms of why you shouldn't read them in the comments, and I'll see you next time.